What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we're jumping in with the weekly reset for August 20th, and of course this is the final reset before the launch of Act 3 of Echoes. And so hopefully this week we'll get some new information about some of the changes we'll see for Act 3, but otherwise it's also the final week of Solstice, so there are a couple of updates related to the event, we'll touch on that. There's also a new patch today, so we'll do our best to cover patch notes. That also includes the change that will allow Xur to sell an exotic class item, and there are a handful of other things to mention there too, but otherwise we'll talk about some of the featured content, the Nightfall, exotics that are featured this week, as well as lost sectors, key activities, and we'll break down vendor inventories. Mostly that'll include the Eververse store and the final week of Solstice items for the year. Plus there are a handful of other things to talk about today, so if you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to get subscribed and I'll keep you posted with more Destiny content, but otherwise, let's get into it. And initially, once again, Act 2 of Episode 1 will resume with new quest steps, content, as well as the exotic mission and other activities on August 27th, so that'll be next week. We probably will get some extra details about the changes this week, but if you want a breakdown of all of the content we currently know about, new weapons, the exotic mission, and more, I've got a separate video which I'll link down below. Otherwise, it's also the final week for Solstice of Heroes for this year, so again, if you're trying to pick up weapons, armor, triumphs, cosmetics, whatever it may be, there are just a few more days to get them done. And of course, some of the changes in the patch today are actually related to Solstice. And on the subject of the patch notes, firstly, for the Crucible in this update, and for Trials of Osiris, they've updated the special ammo rules, and players no longer spawn with 1 kill's worth of special ammo at the beginning of the round, but a second set of special ammo crates will now spawn at 2 fixed neutral locations, and that'll be 10 seconds before the domination zone becomes active. On top of that, each crate will still grant a single kill's worth of ammo, so some more ammo updates right there. But for armor and the Osmiomancy gloves and Spirit of Osmiomancy, they fixed an issue where cold snap grenades were not consistently granting energy back when used against champions. On top of that, they added an unkindled, which is a non-glow version of the Solstice 2024 Sublime armor as universal ornament options for hunters and titans. Then for weapons, in general, they fixed an issue where after acquiring all 6 of Salvation's edge weapon patterns, adept weapons didn't drop with the 3rd perk in the right trait column. For glaives, they fixed an issue where glaives had their melee damage reduced. I believe that was mainly against sort of bosses, but Graviton Lance also got its fix, and they fixed the problem where the RPM was unintentionally nerfed, so that's a positive. And for the Fortunate Star, they fixed an issue where the Fortunate Star bow was showing incorrect stat values on the inspection screen. So there we go, those are the patch notes. Doesn't look like they changed the drop rate for the bow inside of Solstice, but nonetheless, give us your thoughts on those updates down below. And I'm glad to see that Graviton Lance is finally fixed. And next, let's check out the Eververse store for, of course, the final week of Solstice, so the last set of Solstice items until next year. Don't forget your free Bright Dust as well right there in the store. But for the front page of Bright Dust items, we've got Guardian Pride, a legendary emote available up first for 700 Bright Dust, so pretty cool one right there. On top of that, there is the Crab Cycle Exotic Sparrow, which is a rather curious looking thing. We'll have a preview of the trail on that one. Very futuristic crab for 2,500 Bright Dust. But then there is the Bivalve projection available for 1,500 Bright Dust right there. Rather beautiful stuff. And then we've got the Regal Daring for one of the featured shaders on the front page. As always, these cost 300 Bright Dust. That might look quite nice with a bunch of armor sets. And additionally, there is Tangerine Gloss available on the front page as well. But onto the second page of Bright Dust items, we've got the Lovely Look legendary emote, which is also 700 Bright Dust. Kind of interesting thing going on right there. There's also the Solar Reverence. I nearly said Solar Revenge. But Solar Reverence available right there, a rare emote for 400 Bright Dust. And then we've got the Ramen Shop Rambler for 2,000 Bright Dust right here, which is a very, very strange looking thing indeed. Let us know your thoughts on that. I'm sure some folks will pick it up. There is the Sunny Dayshell Exotic Ghost as well for 2,850 Bright Dust. Kind of looks like a stuffed toy of some sort. And then we've got the Surface Friend Exotic Sparrow, which is 2,500 Bright Dust as well. Kind of camper van vibes going on right there. But for the weapon ornament, we've got Raging Lepus, which of course is the Jade Rabbit ornament. So a kind of cool one right there if you like using Jade Rabbit from Solstice. That one's 1,250 Bright Dust. If you haven't picked it up before, bear in mind it won't be available for at least another year. And then there is the Sandcastle Projection Ghost Projection right here. As always, these are 1,500 Bright Dust, but for the second page of shaders, Tangerine Gloss is featured once again. There is also Oiled Algae, which has only come up once in the store this week as opposed to twice like this one. And then we've got the Bruised Blush shader as well. And very finally, Golden Age Wine is available this week too. Once again, all of them 300 Bright Dust. But lastly, we've got the Beach Ball Effects Transmat for 450 Bright Dust. I'll have another preview of that one. For the same cost though, we've got the Cabal Shield Breaker, a very classic Transmat effect right there. And finally, the Baroque Entrance Transmat effect is up as well. So there we go, guys. Let us know your thoughts on the Eververse store and if you fancy picking anything up. And once again, next week we'll be back to non-event related items. Let's have a quick check-in at Banshee while we're here. We may as well. We've got the Chroma Rush Auto Rifle with Moving Target Kill Clip. Then there is Dire Promise with Opening Shot and Swashbuckler, as well as the Enigma's Draw with Triple Tap and Swashbuckler. And then we've got the Far Future Sniper, which is auto-loading and opening shot, and Negative Space with Tireless Blade and Flash Counter. So let us know your thoughts on any of those, but keep in mind they'll change throughout the course of the week. Very lastly though, for vendors at least, and the former curator of the Black Armory, Darth Shader 1, has Envious Touch available this week for 10,000 Glimmer, as always, so kind of a nice shader right there from back in Season of Arrivals. There's also the Kairos Gold from the Curse of Osiris era, so a couple of old shaders this week. Very finally though, we've got New Monarchy Succession, which I actually don't think she brings too often for the faction shaders, so maybe some useful ones to pick up. And we also have the Insight Unyielding set of armor. If you've been looking to add this to collections, definitely give Shader 1 a visit. Otherwise though, some final mentions here. The Nightfall this week should be Exodus Crash, and as far as we know, Scintillation should be the featured weapon. We are going to see the rotation change a bit for Act 3, so it's probably the last time that Exodus Crash will actually be featured, outside of a catch-up node if we get that in Act 3, we don't know yet. So it may be worth getting done this week if you want to complete all of them during the season. Otherwise though, Operation Seraph Shield is the exotic mission, where of course we can pick up the Revision 0, so a good time to go after it if you need it still. And we've got Vex Mythoclast dropping of course from the Vault of Glass, which is the farmable raid this week. That will also include the Legendary loot pool, so a good one to dive into if you're playing any catch up on the drops. And otherwise, the Prophecy Dungeon should be featured and fully farmable as well, where there's a pretty juicy loot pool of legendary weapons to pick up, so keep those in mind. But very finally, we've got the Lost Sectors featured for this reset. So today is Perdition on Europa. Of course, solo clears have the chance to drop exotic engrams, but otherwise, there's also random chances at some of the world weapon drops. You can see those on the right-hand side of the chart. August 21st, though, will be Bunker E15 on Europa, and then we'll get Concealed Void on the 22nd. For the 23rd, though, we'll move over to the Conflux on Nessus, and then we'll be on Neomuna for a bit, with Thrillerdrome on August 24th, and Hydroponics Delta on August 25th, but finally, on the 26th of August, it'll be Vel's Labyrinth in the Cosmodrome. So that's the lineup of featured Lost Sectors this week. Otherwise though, that's just about everything we've got to speak about, so keep it locked and loaded right here on the channel, hit the notification bell and get subscribed, as we're going to get new information about Act 3. We'll also start to see bits and bobs related to Episode 2, which of course will be pretty interesting, so I'll be keeping you posted with all of that. Let us know any stuff you're planning to get done this week in the game down in the comment section, and also if you've enjoyed the video, a rating below really does help us out as well. But otherwise, thank you for tuning in, and I hope you guys have an awesome day.